Do not be alarmed. There's a spooky skeleton man living inside of you. Don't worry though, he's pretty epic. I'm gonna bite the bullet here when I say that the terrifying and paranormal obscure oddities iceberg is not my iceberg.
All icebergs are custom made.
These statements will age horrendously. In which credit goes to the creator of this iceberg, and obviously link in the description. I also won't be able to do the entire iceberg due to not having the best of devices, so yeah, and this iceberg is really long. It's like 130 plus entries. Yeah, that's not gonna happen. Anyways, hope you enjoy. A ghost is the entity or essence of a soul when a being has passed away who is still visible to those who are living. They're usually described as invisible or even barely visible, as well as translucent. Other terms are spirit, apparition, phantom, or poltergeist. Vampires are mythical creatures that require feeding on a sort of life essence, traditionally blood. Modern traditional vampires are described as pale, human, sharp teeth, dark clothing, usually black, purple, and dark shades of red, as well as being afraid of the sun. They sound like modern day gamers, goddamn! Vampire tales have been around since the Mesopotamian era and have gone into ancient Greece, and the Roman Empire while being kept as just fiction in modern day. The zombie is just genuinely one of my favorite paranormal creatures or creations ever to have been made. It's very possible that a lot of you may know how often I make COD Zombies references. Anyways, the zombie is a mythological entity from Haitian folklore, in which the entity is described as a being who was once dead and has since come back to life to haunt the living. Originally, the method of which zombies came to be was through magical practices like voodoo. Now, the modern day version of the zombie uses science fiction methods to reanimate a dead body, traditionally through viruses or diseases, parasites, or even scientific accidents. The core aspect of the zombie has always been the same though, a dead body coming back to life in order to haunt the living. Bigfoot is the main cryptid essentially, a being whose existence is heavily disputed. Bigfoot, often called Sasquatch as well, is a supposed human-like creature, or human ape-like creature who is believed to live in the forests of northwestern America. The idea of Bigfoot isn't really unbelievable in a sense, it's just that we can't find one. This of course leads to many hoaxes and people faking sightings. Unfortunately, because of this, the search for Bigfoot, continues to be less credible each and every time something like this keeps happening. And believe me, the existence of Bigfoot isn't super far off. An elusive, tall, hairy, bipedal creature isn't impossible. It's just that the origin of Bigfoot most likely comes from indigenous folklore. This, of course, can lead to misidentification, but the search for Bigfoot has been really popular for a long time and most likely will continue to be a popular thing because of how much money this makes. The Loch Ness Monster, or Nessie, is an underwater creature said to inhabit Loch Ness in the Scottish Highlands. It's often described as large, having a long neck with one or more humps. To keep it short, the Loch Ness Monster went from a creature believed to be real, having many sightings, to now just being Scottish folklore. This is most likely due to the many debunkings it's had, most notably one of the most popular pictures of Nessie being debunked itself. The Yeti, or the abominable snowman, is pretty much just snowy Bigfoot. There's no real difference, other than it resides in the Himalayan mountains in Asia, and the Yeti is also described as a ape-like creature. However, many explanations for the Yeti sightings are described as misidentifications of Himalayan wildlife, most notably bears who can be found there too. A haunted house is described as a house or other type of building in which it's inhabited by a ghost. These ghosts are traditionally former residents or a being with connections to the building itself. Many who have suffered either a tragic or violent event, such as death, inside of the building. Haunted houses usually have a common symptom or common symptoms, most notably cold spots or random creaking in the walls, as well as objects moving on their own. However, a majority of haunted houses have been regarded as hoaxes. The biggest example of this is the famous Amityville horror house. I have a video on that, you should watch it, it's pretty based. After this though, this one's for my Hispanics and Latinos out there. La Llorona. Jesus Christ. She is often described as the Weeping Woman, or often translated to the Weeping Woman, and it's a Mexican folklore ghost story. A long time ago, a young woman caught her husband with another woman. Some versions of the story say that she was either married to him or was going to be married to him. And I'm gonna go with the version I was told as a kid, which was that she was married to him. Obviously, she was heartbroken because of this, so she decided to take revenge on him by taking everything from him, in a sense. She was said to have drowned the children she had with her husband, then took her own life. She was said to have not been allowed into the afterlife until she finds her kids. This made her a vengeful spirit in search of her own children. She cries out for her children, and it's said that she kidnaps wandering kids at night, and when she realizes that they are not her kids, she'll kill them. Since this is a story that's been passed down for generations by multiple people, my version might be different than others. However, the core aspect of her has always just been a woman who drowned her kids after being cheated on by her husband, and then took her own life as well, and is now a vengeful spirit that comes and kidnaps and then kills kids. I could have just left it on that last part, but oh well. Extrasensory perception, or the sixth sense, is the idea of receiving information through non-physical means. This is usually through psychic abilities, such as telepathy, the use of intuition, visions, and clairvoyance. These abilities are regarded as pseudoscience, which is defined as claims regarded as real or even scientific, but cannot be proven. The Bermuda Triangle is an urban legend that an area in between Florida, United States, Puerto Rico, and the island of Bermuda inside the Atlantic Ocean is weird, in a sense. The Bermuda Triangle is known as a loosely defined region where multiple planes and ships have gone missing. The US Navy's Flight 19 is the first story that shot the Bermuda Triangle into fame, in which a squad of bomber planes had disappeared inside the Bermuda Triangle. Many theories and many criticisms have come out to explain what happens here, but it's just one of those kind of things. Mediumship is the practice of communicating with spirits or the dead, essentially. Practitioners of this are called mediums, and the way they do this is by spirit channeling, usually through seance tables, Ouija boards, and trances. That, I never looked up the pronunciation for this. It's regarded as the most haunted forest in Transylvania, located in the northern border of Romania. The forest has reported multiple paranormal phenomena. It's also regarded as the Bermuda Triangle of Transylvania, as it's rumored to be inhabited by ghosts, aliens, and even the devil in person. You can pull up to see your boy Lucifer, it's fine. Biologist Alexandru Sift had captured a photo of a UFO above the forest, increasing the fame of the forest in the 1960s. Multiple strange disappearances have been reported here as well. A shepherd with his 200 sheep went into the forest and were never seen again, and a 5-year-old girl who disappeared for 5 years inside this forest showed up later, 5 years later, with the same clothes and not having aged at all. Accounts of people who have gone in report burns, rashes, headaches, and high fevers. Even the trees here are fucking weird, as they're all kind of curved to the side. There's a penis joke in there, find it. But most paranormal activity is reported to happen in a circle inside the forest that's free of vegetation. The circle has been tested before and shows no results for this to happen. Most commonly thought to be the big green guy, not the Hulk, but the other big green guy, Frankenstein, right? It's the novel written by Mary Shelley in 1818. It follows the scientist Victor Frankenstein and his creation of a creature referred to as monster through scientific experimentation. A voodoo doll refers to a human-like doll or figurine which has pins inserted into it. This is seen as a magical or mystical practice, usually in order to cause harm to a specific individual. However, the voodoo doll itself isn't actually used by the traditional Haitian voodoo religion. Parapsychology is just the study of psychic or paranormal claims like telepathy, clairvoyance, and even apparitional experiences. This is also pseudoscience, so many scientists reject this study. I so desperately want to make a video based on the SCP Foundation, but I don't have an idea for it. The SCP Foundation is a fictional secret organization that documents how the Foundation captures paranormal or supernatural anomalies named SCPs, and they keep them hidden from the human population. This is a collaborative writing project with many of those in the community creating SCPs along with their documentations. SCPs are typically living beings, objects, locations, and even abstract concepts. The term SCP stands for Secure, Contain, Protect, and the origin of the SCP Foundation dates back to 4chan in 2007 when someone posted the first SCP file, and the current state of the community dates all the way back to 2008. You most likely know what a creepypasta is by now, bro. Like, how are you on the internet and not know? Right? They're just horror-related internet stories intended to scare the reader. Slenderman, Jeff the Killer, the Russian sleep experiment, Squidward suicide. That's one of them. Yeah, they're popular examples. There are specific creepypastas on this iceberg, but since 99% of people know what they are already, and this entry, to me, it seems that it's meant to cover creepypastas as a whole, like the concept as a whole, so I'll skip over those. Spirit photography is just pictures intended to catch ghosts or spiritual entities. Most of these photos tend to be orbs or flashes of light that are thought to be ghosts, and whether or not that's true, that's just the majority of spirit photography. Obviously, along with this comes many hoaxes, but there are some very credible and unexplained photos. Unlike this one, though, which I completely shat on one time. Should probably go look at it. A doppelganger is a biologically unrelated lookalike or a clone of a living person. Mythology and fiction describes doppelgangers as ghosts or paranormal phenomena that tends to be evil, essentially the origin of the evil twin. This idea dates back all the way to the 1810s. At least it's the earliest that I was able to find. Skinwalker Ranch is a show on the History Channel. No, there's more. Skinwalker Ranch is a piece of property located in Ballard, Utah in the United States. It's regarded as a paranormal location due to paranormal and even UFO related events. I don't know if UFOs are regarded as paranormal. I don't know. I thought paranormal just kind of meant ghosts. The ranch started off as a UFO ranch due to multiple reports of UFOs. Then following this, reports of vanishing or mutilated cattle, orbs, UFOs. Well, yeah, I just said that. Large red-eyed animals immune to bullets and invisible objects with large magnetic fields started happening as well. There have been multiple owners of the ranch, and along with them have come multiple books and TV shows. Kappa are human-like turtle beings in Japanese folklore. They're known to lure people into rivers and attack them, as well as removing a mythical organ from them. This organ is called the Shirikodama, and it's located in the fucking ass. Animalia Paradoxa, or paradox animals, are magical or mythical animals. So, paradoxa or paradox is a category in the Systema Nature, written by Carl Linnaeus, that lists that magical animals are a thing since they've been reported by explorers. Essentially, a man named Carl wrote about how animals are categorized. One of these categories was paradox animals, since they have been reported by explorers. The Systema Nature is what I'm going to call it, is basically a classification for animal, plant, and mineral kingdoms. Later, Swedish historian Gunnar Broberg had stated that this was a classification for paradox animals, and it was a way to offer natural explanation for superstitious animals. Poltergeists are a type of ghost or spirit that is responsible for physical disturbances. Right? There's a disturbance in the force, is essentially what they are. These are the types that are responsible for objects moving, biting and hitting humans, knocking, and technological issues. So poltergeists are the most common type of ghost or spirit that you can see in paranormal movies. Username 666 is regarded as one of the first YouTube-related creepypastas, or even urban legends, like YouTube-related urban legend. Essentially, if you were to search for 666 and refresh the page a couple of times, the page itself will become corrupted. The story goes on to say that this can actually corrupt other pages you have open, as well as your entire computer. 1948 Birdman sightings were a bunch of sightings and reports that referred to a flying humanoid. These sightings took place in the state of Washington, and the Psychowskis, who were the first to report the Birdman, were eventually told that this was just a man in a parakeet, the early version of a hang glider. This didn't fully explain their claims though, so what they saw wasn't entirely solved. The panic in the woods is a wild phenomenon that claims once deep inside the woods and far from civilization, a mysterious force will take over and cause panic. The woods are often credited with death by panic, with the idea that this can be suddenly overwhelming for people without reason. People who have experienced this and survived claim that they felt a need to run or escape. Some explanations are that it's a psychic phenomena, or it's actually paranormal entities. As well as you have your normal explanations, such as low altitude and low oxygen can cause panic. Psychometry is a form of extrasensory perception in which the claimed ability is when someone touches an unknown object, they can make related associations to it. Essentially, when someone touches an object that they have never seen before, they can make, an assumption about its history, Again, it's another type of pseudoscience, so there's no scientific research that can prove it yet. Demonology is the study of demons within religious beliefs and mythologies. Black-eyed children are an urban legend or paranormal creature, sometimes labeled as a cryptid. There are said to be kids around the ages of 6 to 16 with pale skin and pitch-black Mountain Dew eyes. They're reported to beg, hitchhike, and even be found knocking on people's doorsteps. So, there is a belief that these children are said to be an omen of death, so people try to avoid them whatsoever. And due to this being on the internet, avoid children at all costs, please. Carilion photography is a photographic technique that's used to capture the electric discharge of objects. Carilion photography is named after its founder, Semyon Carilion. Paranormal claims and even parapsychology research in these photos suggest that this can capture the aura of living beings. A tulpa is a concept within paranormal and mystical beliefs that the thoughts of something can materialize physically, usually in the form of a human. Stories of tulpas usually state that an imaginary friend was able to come to life. Tulpamancers are those who practice the ability to create these imaginary friends, and stories of tulpas tend to be violent and malevolent beings coming to harm humans. Electronic voice phenomena, or EVP, are electronic recordings that are interpreted as ghost voices. This is the thing you see in ghost hunting shows. You see that shit all the fucking time. Yokai are supernatural entities in Japanese folklore, just like the kappa we just mentioned. They're often thought to be demons in the Western sense, but they aren't. They vary between violent, mischievous, and peaceful entities. They're often described as having supernatural abilities, with shapeshifting being the most common. Teke Teke is a Japanese urban legend of a schoolgirl who fell onto a railway and her body was cut in half by the train. She's regarded as a vengeful spirit who lurks urban areas and train stations. It's said that she moves on her hands, and since she has no lower half, she makes a distinct Teke Teke sound. If she encounters someone, she will chase them down and cut them in half, which will make the victim look like she does. The Wendigo. Ooh. The Wendigo is a mythical creature or evil spirit said to be located in eastern Canada forest or the Great Plains region in the US. The Wendigo tends to be depicted as a human-like creature that can possess humans and invoke feelings of greed, hunger, and the want to cannibalize others. Epic. Nowadays, the Wendigo is depicted as a human/beast entity with the skull of a stag. One obviously kind of looks cooler, while the other one kind of looks, more horrific. Yeah, both of them are the same thing essentially. Mayport's King House is another haunted house story from Mayport, Florida. The story of the house goes that it was a house built on a former Spanish graveyard and that it was used to house sailors before being destroyed in a fire in 1881. William King had the house rebuilt in 1907 on the same location to house his own family. The house is said to be the location where William's aunt had been killed by a sailor who she had a past love with. He had stabbed her with a fucking pitchfork while she was on a rocking chair. Apparently, after this, he tossed her ass into a river. So after that, the Catholic Church held mass there weekly, and then they had been rumored to hold funerals there too. Catholic Church just stays based, don't they? So, because of this, the Kings had used this to tell ghost stories, and a lot of weird things did happen near the actual house or inside the actual house. Nearby car accidents did claim lives. William King's aunt was reportedly able to be encountered in the house, or at least near the house, and new owners of the house had a bird who would say the name Howard. No one in that family was named Howard, but Howard King, William's father, reportedly died there. Lastly, they had a little butler in a sense, who was said to reside inside the house and would open the door for visitors. The house itself has been featured on many ghost hunting shows. Techno-paganism is the merging of neo-paganism, which are historical religious beliefs that came before Christianity itself, and magical rituals through technology. This essentially tries to give modern-day digital technologies some sort of spiritual meaning. One of their beliefs is that the internet itself has attained its own spirit. An ancient tablet dated around 3,500 years ago from the city of Babylon shows what may be one of the earliest depictions of a ghost. It said that the tablet is small enough to fit in a person's hand and that about half of it is missing. So at first glance, you wouldn't really think anything of it until you put it under the light. Under the light, you'll see figures that don't appear normally. So this is actually thought to be a, once again, early depiction of a ghost, but as well as a early depiction of how to get rid of a ghost. The British Museum had gotten a hold of it in the 19th century, but have never displayed it. You may have seen this man, the dude with the eyebrows, the internet kind of look. This man refers to a person who has supposedly been seen by many people in their dreams but never identified in the real world. The website named Ever Dream of This Man had him as the main focus. Italian sociologist and marketer Andrea Nutella had created this man in 2008, stating that thousands of people had reported seeing him starting in 2006, and this man's image went viral, but Nutella had exposed what this actually was. It was a marketing technique for his advertising agency, and the idea of a dream invasion had just fascinated Nutella. The image itself is based on a young photo of Nutella's father. Psychography is a psychic ability to write down words without someone consciously writing. This is more commonly known as automatic writing. An egregore is an ancient Greek concept that states a non-physical entity can come to life through the collective thoughts of a group of people. This entity is sometimes seen as a living being that's independent, and other times it's seen as just a collective mind of a religious or esoteric community. Ikirio is a Japanese belief of a disembodied ghost or spirit that leaves the body of a living person and goes to haunt others or even places. Drosulites are just visions seen by residents in the Sfakia region in Crete, in Greece. These visions are reported to be seen every year in early June on the anniversary of the Battle of Frango-Costello. Shadow-like men dressed in black are reported to be seen walking armed with weapons and considered to be a ghost army. An out-of-body experience is a phenomenon when someone has an experience of the world outside of their own physical body. Basically, when someone's consciousness is removed from their body, usually through the soul or the spirit leaving the physical body, and you are aware of it. That's what this is. Another form of this is astral projection, which is a paranormal belief that the spirit itself can detach from the body and access a non-physical plane of existence and travel through them. The hum is a low frequency and intrusive noise that can't be heard by everybody. Multiple reports of this have come about from the US, Canada, the UK, and Australia. There's many simple explanations for this and what it could be, such as tinnitus, spontaneous autoacoustic emissions, which is when ears themselves produce noise, or mechanical devices from cities with heavy industry. As of 2014, the hum hasn't been found, or at least the source for it hasn't been found. An apport is essentially when someone is able to summon something during a seance. The definition of this is, an apport is the alleged paranormal transference of something from one place to another. This has resulted in mediums being able to summon birds, stones, and flowers. However, most, if not all, apports have been reported as Alex Jones would say, a fake and fraud. The Fleshgate is a supposed creature that is able to mimic people's voices and appearances, similar to that of the Skinwalker, and often having the intention of luring people into the woods. They're said to be gray, extremely tall, long claws, and no hair. Bald-ass motherfuckers. No one really knows what they're supposed to be, but similar stories and creatures have been reported for a while, such as the Wengon and once again, the Skinwalker. It's generally believed that their only intention is to kill and eat humans though. Technomancy is the claimed magical ability that affects technology or alleged magical powers that are gained through technology. Sleepwalkers are said to be known for strange behaviors. Parasomnia refers to the actions that are taken while sleepwalking. It's thought that the thoughts of those sleeping, and the thoughts that are going through their mind are able to manifest themselves as physical actions. Some people have been reported to make meals, drive, and one man was charged with lewd conduct, and his defense was that he was sleepwalking and that he didn't mean to touch the girl. This seems plausible, like the whole parasomnia thing, but it's very difficult to prove, especially the lewd conduct thing. Do not do anything that will charge you with lewd conduct. I gotta say that. Multiple police stations have a ghost, and considering that these are in Chicago, I'm not fucking surprised. Policemen have reported an apparition of a gray-haired man. policemen have stated that they don't want to stay the night in their stations, and if they do, they tend to stay awake the whole time. Encounters with the gray man tend to be described as having your face touched by his bony hands, quote unquote, and sightings of his apparition occur from the 1st to the 5th of every month. 6 of these stations are reported as haunted, them being Grand Crossing, the Stockyards, Hyde Park, Englewood, Des Plaines, and New City. Thoughtography is the claimed ability in parapsychology to project one's thoughts onto a surface, like a photograph. That's really it. The evil eye is a supernatural belief that a curse gets brought onto someone to bring misfortune or even injury in their life. It's viewed as a negative stare that's given to someone while they are unaware, and this actually goes back all the way to the 6th century BC, and to this day it's a popular belief. Multiple charms are actually made, for protection against the evil eye. That's what this little blue thing is supposed to be. Mirage cities are meant to talk about the weird visual of what seems to be different cities in the skies seen in China. And believe it or not, this isn't supposed to happen. You may be familiar with the video or even pictures. Many people took this as a view into alternate dimensions, or a alternate dimension, just a singular one, with them being able to see a city that wasn't there before. Near-death experiences are when people have some sort of experience that is associated with death or even incoming death. This can include out-of-body experiences, feelings of levitation, profound emptiness, distress, and multiple reports of having seen an afterlife, typically being heaven or hell. Neuroscientists suggest that this is a result of your body's senses being disturbed, usually after a traumatic injury to the body or the brain itself. There's many suggestions as to what this is or how this happens, scientific explanations, religious explanations, or even spiritual reasons. Dark figures refers to shadow people. Shadow people are reported supernatural creatures or beings that are always said to be in the dark. Many people experience having felt like they have seen a shadowy figure somewhere in their dark room. Others reported that these figures are real beings who intend to harm from the shadows and are described as a shadowy silhouette with red eyes. There's many theories as to what they do or what they even are, but this is just the gist of it all. Ghost music just refers to music or sounds of instruments or even singing that accompanies the appearance or presence of a ghost. Biringan? I hope that's how you say it. Biringan is a mythical, invisible city said to reside somewhere in the Philippines. Local folklore says that the entire population of Biringan are supernatural beings. These beings are known as encantos. They're said to be shapeshifters and can transform into a human form. They're just fucking Shang Tsungs at this point. Some people have reported to have seen it, and according to folklore, again, the majority of people who have seen it are victims of demonic possessions. It's been described to be a dazzling city of lights on moonless nights. It's a fucking bar. A Japanese company once spotted lights coming from the reported region where Biringan is said to be, and they set up a whole ass project to investigate the area, claiming that there was gold and uranium here. However, mysterious accidents happened, and this led to the project shutting down. Alright, this is more of a wild ass conspiracy, and I'm all here for it, genuinely. The European Organization for Nuclear Research, that was so hard to say, otherwise known as CERN, is responsible for housing the Large Hadron Collider, whatever, and the largest physics lab. So there's this weird theory about CERN. It says that they're trying to open a portal to hell, or they're trying to open a portal for the devil to come through. I don't really know why. Probably so he can, buzz it down with the grannies or something. I don't fucking know. This is because of two things. The opening ceremony for CERN looked fucking weird, and theorists have stated that it's a satanic ritual of sorts, and a video confirmed by CERN themselves to have been filmed at their own location of people pretending to sacrifice a woman to the Hindu god Krishna. The 732 vampirization plague was an epidemic that started in Serbia, in which it's believed that about 16 people were killed by vampires. They were playing fucking Redfall in 1732. Arnold Pal, a Serbian irregular infantryman who was believed to have turned into a vampire after his death, is what started the epidemic. At least his death is believed to have been what started it, since it was his native village where these deaths had started and had occurred. Paul himself died in 1725, and about 20 to 30 days after his death, so a full month after his death, 4 people had been complaining that they had been plagued by Powell, only to shortly die thereafter. So 10 days after their deaths, villagers and the village's head military member had opened Powell's grave, and they described it as a incredibly bloody scene with an undecomposed body. Then they did the generic thing and drove a stake through his heart, and apparently a freakish screech, quote unquote, was let out by him. Then they cut off his head, burned the body, then they did the exact same thing to the victims. The first incident is only known about after the Austrian officers had investigated the second vampire epidemic in 1731, where more than 10 people died within several weeks. 13 people reported stabs in the side and pains in their chests, along with sicknesses. The second outbreak reportedly started from 2 women. One apparently ate a sheep that had been plagued by vampires, and then the second one smeared herself with vampire blood to protect herself from vampires. Fucking women, bro, I swear. The report itself is dated to January 26, 1732, and about 17 of the 40 people who died during this whole epidemic, at least the second one, showed signs of vampirization, so they disposed of the bodies to prevent more vampires. Sprinting ghosts is exactly what it sounds like. There's been multiple reports of ghosts moving at insane speeds towards their intended target. The CIA boldly used the Answang, a Filipino folklore legend of a vampire, against rebels fighting against the Filipino government and the US allies of theirs shortly after World War II. So the plan was to use recently dead Hux soldiers, right, the rebels, and puncture holes in the necks, and then dump their bodies on the roads or trails where other Hux would travel through. Given that the Filipino people were very superstitious at the time, the belief in the Answang was actually pretty common, so this essential psychological warfare was actually within good chances of working. And then guess fucking what? It fucking worked, and the Hux soldiers began relocating, and the townspeople started becoming terrified of the Hux, calling their battleground haunted. The Hux lost moral support of the people, and they then surrendered. So this fucking worked. Emotional graffiti talks about how ghosts can leave a certain imprint or residue in a specific spot. It said that when something dramatic or traumatic happens to somebody, their emotions that come from this event can stay in that area. This therefore leads to an apparition of someone from that event to show up. This is helped by the idea of ghost footsteps only being heard in the same area, such as stairs or in the basement, or how ghosts often wander specific locations and don't really interact with anything. This is seen as a different explanation for ghosts. Rather than seeing the spirit of someone, you're coming across an emotional energy that was left behind. This is why haunted objects seem to be items of sentimental value. Einstein once famously said, "Balls so hard, motherfuckers trying to find me." And he also said energy can't be destroyed once it's been created. Ghost researchers and believers take this as a plausible proof for ghosts, asking the question, what happens to that energy when we die? Then the belief of humans turning into ghosts after death is fitted into this. It's known that humans do produce some sort of energy, so the belief has some sort of credibility in a way, but the only counter to this is that when humans die and that energy is going somewhere, it's thought that it goes into the living organisms that help decompose our bodies after death.
I might have said it, I might have not, but this is an unfinished thing. I didn't want to do it anymore, I'll be honest. I don't want to hold on to it anymore. I don't want to do it anymore. I want to do something else. But like, I get it. A lot of people like icebergs, so it's taken me a month just because I lost interest in this entire thing. I'm sorry. I'm not an iceberg channel. I never was. Yeah. This took like a month to do. I want to do other thingies. It's fine. We've had icebergs since like February of this year. It's fine. We can do something else. Anyways, thank you so much if you made it to the end. Sorry this isn't finished. Yeah, before I make myself look like an ass. Bye.